is Date to Your Potential, inspiring, educating, and empowering single members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Our hosts are Peggy Matheson, betrayal trauma recovery expert, and Sharon Collier, certified life and relationship coach.
Hey everyone, we're here with episode 88. I'm here with my friend Heidi McLain. She is another personal development and relationship coach. She calls herself the Uber of life. Tell us.
Well, you know how Uber is. They take you from where you are now to where you want to go. And so I do that in people's personal, professional, and relationship lives.
She does. She does. And she's amazing. I'm so happy to have her here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, of course. So Peggy is off getting married and honeymooning. So
Yay!
We're having Heidi fill in. So today we're tackling some of the hot questions that people have. So it will be interesting to see how we agree and how we differ. This might be a really fun podcast. There's going to be duking it out in the podcast room.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, just kidding. We're here to have some fun. Should we get to some of the questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to ask you, how do you know if a relationship is right for you?
How do you know if a relationship is right for you? I'm just going to say the pieces should be falling together fairly easily. I think a lot of people really struggle with relationships and they think they need counseling. There's all this attraction, and maybe there's a lot of attachment. And, you know, Peggy and I talk about all this a lot, but I think it just should fit together fairly easily. And you should know that you're going in the same direction in life. This should be something that is, you know, that you don't have to really ask. It's just you're going the same direction, you have the same views on a lot of things, or you don't mind changing a few minor things, you know, because this relationship is good. What do you think?
I agree with almost everything
Almost
you said.
everything.
No, I agree with everything you said. I would just tweak a couple of things.
Okay, tweak it.
I agree. It should happen very naturally. It should feel comfortable.
Yes.
It should feel easy. It should feel light. And yes, you need to make sure that you're going in the same direction, but you do need to ask those questions to make sure that you are going in the same direction. Because sometimes we make assumptions about where somebody is.
That is true, yeah.
And maybe, I know for me personally, I have asked a question to find out where somebody stood on something, and I thought once they gave me the answer, we were on the same page, only to find out 3 months later that what that looked like actually was very different.
Yes.
And so that's the only thing
Yes,
I would say is make sure
clarify,
that,
yes, to clarify, that is a good point. Okay, I want to ask you, when in the relationship do you say, I love you? This is
first date.
Oh, just kidding.
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. That's a really good question, and I think it really depends upon the situation. Obviously not the first date, or probably in the first little bit. But I think after established time, maybe after a month or two, it really depends upon the connection, because some people go on an hour date, some people talk every day, some people chat online and go on dates, but really I think once you have established a pattern of dating between the two of you where you have been open and had really deep connecting conversations, I think you know when you feel it, and I think when you feel safe to do it and you just want to share it, I think it's always okay. I mean, I don't know about you, but it never sucks to hear I love you from anybody.
It doesn't, especially if you're really, really in it.
What do you think?
The only thing I would change is there's this infatuation period where the hormones and the chemicals are going nuts. You know, and for some people it's 3 months. I have a guy friend, he's like, it's 3 months. Things kind of start getting difficult or dying off. And for most people it's 4 to 5 months. And I would just say, wait till after then, because you want, you know, you feel all these burstings of chemicals and everything. I remember I met a guy, I'm going to say late November, and we just totally hit it off. We had so much fun together, good physical chemistry. Well, you know, prom in February, we both gushed that we loved each other because, you know, the mood was right and we both looked awesome. Well, we were broken up by the end of March. it was like the end of the infatuation period. And so, and of course, high school is different than what we're talking about now. Hopefully we know a little more and have a little more experience. But that is something that we should be aware of.
Yeah,
this infatuation period.
I agree. And I think there's some distinguishing things. So, like, if you want the best for the other person, right, whether you guys stay together or not, I think that's a good indication of what actual love is.
Yes.
Versus, oh, I can't wait to see you, and the whole sweep me off my feet thing. But if it's like,
burstings,
you know what, if we were to end things today and we were to walk away with this person, would I consider this person a dear friend? And would I look back on it with fondness, and would we have that connection? Then to me, that's what love is. So again, clarifying, what does love mean, right?
You know, to both of you, yes.
Because to me, there is that difference between, oh, you're so hot, and oh,
right, you know, yes.
I just love you.
Yes, you light me up like nobody else. But yes, clarifying, I just want to clarifying. A lot of people are afraid to clarify. They're afraid of what the answers are going to be, because you get involved in a person and you think it's going the right direction, and clarifying might ruin it. But it's so important. It's so important. There's people out there with multiple divorces because the communication just really isn't there. And clarifying is a big part of that. So thank you for bringing that up again.
You're welcome. It's very liberating. It really is.
Yes.
And once you are sure you're on the same page, that actually gives you a more solid foundation.
Yes.
And gives you opportunities for choices.
For sure. For sure. All right, whose turn is it? Is it my turn? Did you just ask?
No, it's my turn to ask you.
Oh,
That's
okay.
Right,
I know.
Asked,
I'm like, I know where we're both talking.
I know, but I love it. I love the conversation. So, how do I make my partner happy?
How do you make your partner happy? Okay, this is another communication thing. Okay, there's little thoughtful things that you catch, right? Mm-hmm. You know, you catch them looking at that piece of jewelry, you catch them looking at that shirt or whatever, you know, but this is another communication thing. How can I make you happier? Mm-hmm. You know, what is it that, you know, really trips your trigger? I know it's not that diamond necklace that you were looking at, although I'm happy to buy that for you, or whatever, you know.
You could buy it for me.
Right? I'm just kidding. But, yeah, I think it's sometimes a conversation if it's not just completely obvious. What do you think about it?
I think that's true. I think really talking about how each other feels loved is important. And I know it's interesting in several of the conversations I've had recently, a lot of times within the first couple of conversations, it's like, what's your love language, right?
Right.
And for those who don't know, the love language is our physical touch, spending time together, gifts, acts of service, and validation. And a lot of times people are aware, which I think is amazing, because if you had asked me that question 10 years ago, I'd be like, what are you talking about?
Right, exactly.
So obviously I've been on a journey, and a lot of people have too, and I love that they can answer that. But to your point, it goes even deeper, because for each person, they need a specific thing at a specific time. And I think it's a question that needs to be asked often. And one of my favorite things that I share with couples is to be asking that almost daily. What can I do for you today? Or how can I show you that I love you today?
Yes.
Not just a generalization at once thing. Because one day, you know, if I'm stressed out, you coming and doing my dishes for me, so I don't have to stress about it.
Yes.
That bumps up, and now acts of service is not my main love language. My main love language might be physical touch. Right. But in that moment, that's escalated.
Yes.
So continually to communicate that. And then other than that, really it's the responsibility of the individual to be happy themselves, right? And we can't take ownership for that. Otherwise, then we shift into codependency.
Right. Well, yeah, if you've ever been to one of my conference classes, I talk about living a happy, well-balanced life. When you have all your needs met by yourself, somebody's just adding to your life.
Right.
When you have all your needs met, you feel content and you do feel happy.
Right.
And so I think that is an important point to make, that you need to be happy first.
Yes. 100%.
Awesome. All right. Let's see. What question do I want to ask you? Should we talk about cheaters? Should I forgive a cheater? We might have different opinions about this. Go ahead.
Do we need to define what a cheater is first?
We do, especially in dating situations. This is not marriage cheating. This is dating cheating.
Yeah. So everybody has different definitions, and that's what's really interesting about this question, because different people view, and I love that you brought up clarifying.
Yes.
Because clarifying where you are in your relationship is key, because where you are and where you both define it defines what cheating is.
Yeah.
If both of you think you're going on dates, which is not the same as dating, you're just going on dates to figure out if you want to be exclusive, then is it cheating to be talking to somebody else or texting somebody else or going on a date with somebody else? Right? So if there's no conversation about exclusivity, or that you are only talking to each other, then it's not cheating. But one person's view may be, but you and I have spent X amount of hours together, and I've shared all this deep stuff with you, so therefore we must be exclusive. But never had the conversation.
Right.
But if you're not having that conversation, then it's not cheating.
It's true. You got to, what do they call it at BYU, the DTR?
Yeah,
define the relationship. That honestly, it needs to happen. Even if you both feel like you're on the same page and you really aren't dating other people, you really do need to have the conversation.
And maybe you don't want to date somebody else, and you've made that determination, but you haven't communicated that or had that. So that's where I'm thinking in regards to cheating anyway. And then, when you have said, hey, we are exclusive. And it's interesting, I was dating somebody last year, and he asked me to be his girlfriend. And I said, okay, before I answer that question, let's talk about what that entails. Because for me, if I'm going to be your girlfriend, I expect that means we're exclusive. That means it's just you and me. I'm shutting down conversations I'm having with other guys, even friends that are guys, because the emotional connection should be between you and I, not between me and a bunch of other people. And so we talked about that, and he was like, no, I agree 100%, and I thought we were on the same page. And so it's interesting, a few weeks later, a friend reached out to me, and I found out he was messaging her on a social media site. And clearly, even though we had that conversation, so in my mind, because we had that conversation, that to me was cheating.
Right.
So having the conversation, forgiving him, I've totally forgiven him, but I'm not dating him.
Right.
I shut that down. I have my boundaries, right?
Right.
If we've had the conversation, we've reached a mutual agreement, then yes, I would expect them to step up to that agreement. And then, I can forgive him, but I don't need to keep going in a relationship that's not being respectful of the agreements that we have. Right.
Okay.
So what do you think?
I think that's a great answer, because these are dating situations. This is not marriage. Right. And in marriage with children and things, the answer would be different. But in dating situations, if you've agreed on it and clarified, one of my girlfriends was dating a guy, and he goes, well, I call you my girlfriend. And so she just thought, that meant the same thing, just like your situation. Mm-hmm. And he goes, no, I don't consider us exclusive, but I call you my girlfriend. So it's like, once again, the clarifying. And when it's all clarified and determined, then that would be cheating. And you don't need to forgive somebody in a dating situation. If you're not enough for them, that's okay, move along.
Yeah. Next.
Yeah. So that's a great answer. Thanks, Heidi.
Yeah. So let's see. How do you navigate a long-distance relationship?
Okay, everybody knows I'm such an advocate for time. Time is so huge. In a long-distance relationship, when you are not seeing each other frequently, you need more time. Mm-hmm. And visits should not just be fun weekends. Visits need to be during the week. How are they responding to a child that just sprung on a last-minute project? How do they really live? Do they let the garbage pile up and over the can before they clean it up? How do they actually live? And you need to see all of that before you really commit to marriage with this person. Otherwise, you can have fun dates on Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
And you can do, all the phone calls and things. And sometimes that's a great way to get to know each other without all the physical.
Right.
But we need to watch. We need to watch the physical when we're together, because sometimes that's like drinking from a fire hose, right? When you get together and haven't seen each other. But yes, it is possible. I'm just going to say a lot of time, and especially a whole week visit, just to see how they really are and how they really live and how they react to certain problems, or what are they like when they come home from work? What are they like before they go to work? Things like that. So yes, but mostly time.
I agree with that. Yeah. And watching, and this is good for wherever you're in person, whether you're long distance or not, but especially in long distance, is watching how they treat other people who can do nothing for them, whether it be a waitress or family members, like how they talk to their siblings and things like that. Is so important, because that's when their guard typically comes down. And it's interesting how behavior is modified because we want to impress and put our best foot forward. But it's those moments when they are typically their most authentic self. And so being aware of that is key, especially when you're long distance.
Yeah, because, I think it's hard enough, to kind of combine lives and things. But so long distance it does add it does add a twist of more complication.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
I hope so. You ask great questions, by the way.
Oh, well, you do too. I've been an admirer of Heidi for years. It was fun. It was fun we finally connected. Dating in the workplace. How do you feel about dating a colleague?
Oh, wow. That is a tricky one.
I think it is too.
I think if you can avoid it at all costs, do it. Avoid it. But, you never know where love happens and springs.
Right.
But I would say making sure that you set really distinct boundaries.
Yes.
Where that relationship is not impacting, because we're talking about your career here. We're talking about things that can, in fact, impact your monetary gains, how you support your family, if you're married, or if you've previously been married. It can affect whether or not you get promoted. I know that at my work there was one of our managers who was having a relationship with somebody on our team, and it made everybody extremely uncomfortable. And you don't want to create a hostile work environment at work, and that can create other issues. So I would say keep it as much outside of the workplace as possible. Set very distinct boundaries about what you talk about at work.
Yes.
And like if you're going to go to lunch, express your affection on lunch.
Yes.
Don't be coming over to each other's cubicle and, hey, babe, like
right.
I would avoid all that. But yeah, I think you can do it, but you have to do it very intentionally, and because you want to protect yourself and your partner too.
Oh yeah,
right?
Oh, for sure.
What are your thoughts?
So I just would recommend, if you are friends first, and this is part of the boundary thing you talked about, is just to agree that you're going to, if you're going to try it, go super slow, stay friends, and keep being friends after if it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And be okay with that, and not do petty things like flaunt somebody else in front of them and things like that. We're adults and we need to be professionals, in the workplace. But I think it can happen. I just think I would say, I'd be like, just say no, It's just, it's a difficult one, but.
Yeah, and I think talking about how you're going to navigate it while at work is important.
Yes.
Like, okay, we're going to date. I like you, you like me, we're going to do this, but talk about that so that you're not creating that drama.
Right.
Because especially and talk about how you're going to manage conflict in your relationship while you're at work.
Yes.
Because, what I mean by that is not handling conflict at work. What I mean is if there's conflict in the relationship, how you're going to choose to be professional at work. So if it's, hey, I'm not going to be talking to you today because we need to figure things out. Don't take this personally. It's just, I need some space, and identifying that.
Right.
Like I said, I would avoid dating anybody at work at all costs. But if you do, you need to take those extra steps.
Yes. Well, Heidi and I both work from home right now, so the chances of that are low. But
I work with
yes.
a hottie. So,
yes, she does. She totally does.
So do you.
Thank you.
So how about the ever asked, should I get back together with my ex?
Okay, I love this question because there's so many on-again, off-again relationships, right? And it's like, okay, we're so attracted to each other, we keep going back, and then we have all our chemicals that tell us to go back to that person, right? All our dopamine and oxytocin and everything. The only way I would tell anybody to go back to their ex is if things have legitimately changed. What has changed in this relationship, or what has changed in this person, or what has changed in me that is going to make things different this time? People keep going back under the same situations and the same circumstances, and nothing ever changes, and it's this on-again, off-again hormonal chemical thing that people just can't get out of. And the longer you're with somebody, the harder it is really to break up, and you're just extending that amount of time by breaking up and getting together and breaking up and getting together. So make sure things have changed.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I agree 100%. And I think we get stuck in wanting to go back to what's familiar.
Yes.
Especially when we're lonely. And so sometimes we fall into that. It's like, oh, just one date won't hurt.
Right. You want to just catch up.
Yeah. And then you feel that familiar. And then, like you said, all those feelings come back. And the next thing you know, nothing's changed. And so I agree 100%. Nailed it.
Yep. All right. Is spending time apart from my partner a good thing?
No, you should cling to them 100% of the time.
I know,
Follow them to their
clingy and
car.
needy is so hot.
We're just kidding, clearly.
We are just kidding.
Yes, spending time apart from your partner is a good thing. You should maintain who you are in every relationship that you have. Otherwise, it becomes codependent. You need to consistently be you, and time apart allows you to focus on your dreams, your goals, and focus on who you are. And actually, I am a subscriber. I'm not sure about you. That absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yes.
It makes you appreciate, I miss this person. And that's a good thing. So I think there's an appropriate amount of yes to that.
Definitely.
Do you see that in any differently?
I don't. I just kind of explain it a little differently. I used to tell my kids, if I can't be Sharon, I can't be mom. I can't be a good mom, so you got to let me be Sharon. And I think that's the same in all relationships. Yep. You have to bring yourself. So good answer, Heidi.
Thank you. Alrighty. So I think we kind of talked about cheating, but what about like following our exes on social media? Where do you stand on that?
Okay, so if you listen to me, you know that oxytocin takes 30 days to die off, right? So there's this 30-day rule that would make it easier for breakups if people would just follow it. So if you can go 30 days, and this also depends on how long the relationship was, but if you're talking a year relationship, let's take a break. Let's take a break. Let's get over that person. Let's not stalk them, because at that point it's kind of stalking. What are they doing? What are they up to? Who are they seeing? Is that a girl in the picture, right? It's doing yourself a favor almost just to take a break from that. I would say 30 to 90 days if it's been a long relationship, to not be following them on social media.
I agree with that. And honestly, I think it should go longer than that. Like get curious about why you want to follow them. What is the lingering? Is there something left unsaid? Is it just that you're missing them? Like, what is the point of you following them? Yeah. Because to me, seeing them with somebody else would be heartbreaking.
It's painful.
It's like, I want to be that person you're holding hands with, or I want to go on that trip with you, or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think it's not a self-service to do that and to let it go. And it's hard to let go. So
It is. Oh, it is. And then especially with all our dopamine that makes us feel addicted to this person, it's like, oh, I should have just hung in there. Look at where they are, or look at who he's with, or whatever. But yeah, I definitely say take a break.
I actually think social media has made things 100 times harder for relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it in our grandparents' time, first of all, they didn't have all these communication tools that we take for granted every day, right? They wrote letters, like love letters, and it took like several days or a week for them to get it. And so they had to trust in each other, and, they weren't out being bombarded with thousands of images every day of things going on in other people's lives. It was like they'd get up, they'd focus on work, they'd do what they need to do. They'd have that distance, which created that longing and had them thinking about each other.
Yeah.
And then when they made that commitment, it was like, yes, like I'm focused on one person, focused on you.
Yes.
And then when things didn't work well and it broke up, they didn't have all these images thrown in their face, and they didn't have that, and so they recovered faster, they healed faster, and they had longer relationships because they valued it.
Yes.
And so anyway,
Yes.
I don't know why I went
Good
off
answer.
on that, but
That was awesome. All right. How do you build trust in a relationship? I think this is a good question for those of us who have been married and divorced and are trying to move on.
I agree with you. So one of my favorite formulas is consistent behavior over time equals trust. And so we can all have good days and bad days, and we have to give grace for that. But really, we shouldn't judge somebody if they have had a bad day, and we should watch for that. But if their behavior is consistent in a certain way, that's when you know you can either trust them or it's a red flag.
Yes.
And so that's what I would say is you build trust by showing up.
Yep.
By doing the things you say you're going to do, and giving each other time and space that you need. And just, to me, those are the things. Just being consistent.
I have nothing to add.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to say A+.
Yay. I read your notes. No.
She really did. This is very impromptu. This is very unrehearsed.
So this is interesting. What do you think about gift giving and when it's appropriate to give gifts in dating?
Okay. So I actually like this question because especially if a relationship's new around a holiday, I would say always give something, but I would say give the gift based on how long you've been in the relationship. So don't start out with diamond earrings on Valentine's Day if you've been dating for 2 weeks, okay?
Right.
That sets the expectation really high. And another thing to consider is this person's love language gifts? If it is, you will want to give little romantic gestures quite often, but they don't have to be big because gift people don't want a big gesture. They just want to know that you're thinking about them with a physical gesture.
Right.
So, but I would definitely say the size of the gift should correlate with the amount of time you've been with them. You've been with somebody 2 weeks, it's Valentine's Day, that's a teddy bear and a little box of chocolates, right? That's a cliche Valentine's Day gift. That is not the heart-shaped diamond earrings, right?
Right.
You have anything to add?
Oh, I agree with that 100%. And it's funny because that's exactly where I was in the stage with my ex-husband when we first started dating. We went on a date a week before Valentine's Day, and I had zero expectations other than maybe, hey, happy Valentine's Day.
Right.
And he did the cutest thing. He found some decorative paper and did some origami flowers.
Oh, cute.
And sprayed them with his cologne and just left them on my porch with, like you said, like a little box of chocolates.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. I was like, that creativity was exciting.
Yes.
And getting that dopamine hit from smelling his cologne, but it was memorable too. But like you said, he spent time.
Yes.
And to me, time is one of my love
Right.
languages. So the gift plus the love language, was awesome. But he didn't get a dozen long stem roses and
right,
whisk me
exactly.
off to a fancy restaurant. It was perfectly appropriate, and I absolutely loved that. So
right.
I agree with you. 100%.
I've done something small. I did Hershey's Hugs and Kisses in a little candy jar.
Nice.
For some guy that it's like we looked like we were going to start dating, so it was like just something small, and he loved that. He's like, it's at work. I have Hugs and Kisses at work. So, yeah. So like, yeah.
That's
those
super
are
cute.
Good examples. All right. How do you know when a relationship is over? Last question.
Sure. Wow. I think there's telltale signs.
Yes.
When somebody starts pulling away, not being available. Also how you're feeling.
Yeah.
Like if you're feeling disconnected, and, I'm a big subscriber is that people are in our life for a reason. And sometimes they're just there for a reason. Sometimes they're there for a season.
Yes.
And it's okay.
Yes.
So I think if your goals are not aligning, it's okay to know that that's not going to progress.
Right.
I think if schedules go off, because, sometimes, especially if you've been divorced and you've got shared custody with kids and circumstances change, then it's time to move on. If they're not feeling it, you can tell, there's just this energy that changes. And so having that conversation is super important. What would you add to that?
I would agree with the conversation. The earlier, the better. It's like, okay, what are you feeling in this? I'm starting to feel disconnected. Is there a problem in your life that they'll need me to help you work through? Or is this, like the end of the relationship? Or on like your side of it, my side of it, if it starts becoming a chore, the relationship starting to feel like a chore, something that you have to do, and you're really just not excited about it anymore. Yeah. But, the conversation, I just think the conversations need to happen. The earlier, the better. When it starts fizzling out, you know what, let's talk about it. And then it can end on a better note than if you both start building resentments and then you're angry at each other when you break up. So the conversations are definitely super important.
Absolutely. And being honest about it is super respectful. It's when you start avoiding and then start lying about it, then it becomes toxic, and that's where more resentment comes in. I think we'd all much rather have a candid conversation. Hey, I know this is hard, but unfortunately this isn't working for me anymore, versus coming up with excuses and then finding out that they're doing other things, and it's like, just tell me. Right.
And I just think communication, like, we're all grown-ups. If you haven't figured out how to communicate with anybody, whether it's a member of your sex or the opposite sex, figure this out. This is going to help you in your dating process.
Yes.
A lot.
There's a great book. Have you ever read Crucial Conversations?
I have not, but I have heard of it.
It's a great book, and I would encourage anybody to read it, especially people. So you have talked about a lot. I talk about it a lot with my clients, different attachment styles. There are avoidant personalities. And for them, oh my gosh, like having a conversation that's deep is scary anyway, but let alone one to end a relationship can be extremely scary.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's where I even hate the term ghosting.
Right.
I hate it. It's so overused and it happens so often. But
I
think there are people like that who avoid that conversation, and that's when they disappear. And so if you're one who tends to avoid that, like learning communication skills, just to say, hey, I'm feeling uncomfortable right now.
Right.
I would prefer if we took some time apart. It can be just something that simple. It doesn't have to be, I don't ever want to see you again. I think in our minds sometimes we create, they're going to hate me. And
well, we're wired to please people and to kind of walk on eggshells a little bit. That's kind of in our human nature. If we want to be a pleasant person. So it makes it a little more difficult to have that conversation.
Well, it's interesting that you said that too, because a lot of that people pleasing is based on trauma.
Yeah, a lot of it
is, if we've been hurt in the past, and we've all had relationships that have ended before and it's hurt, then yes, we, try to people please. But the reality though is if you keep looking at it at the friendship level, like if you can leave a relationship with respect and dignity, then you both feel better about it than if you take an action that's, you're going to reflect on and regret and not be able to look yourself in the mirror for,
right,
or that
exactly.
they're going to feel bad about. So
exactly. Well, oh my gosh, Heidi, this 35 minutes has flown past. This was so much fun. Thank you so much for being here and for all your input.
thanks for having me and for the great questions.
All right, we'll talk to everybody later. Bye.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and that it inspired you on your dating journey. Please share this with anyone you think might benefit from what you've heard today and click the button to follow us. You can reach either Sharon or I at datetoyourpotential.com. We work with people who are single or married. We want you to know you are not alone. We support you. We are in this with you.